Math 3, Unit 5 review. So here we're simplifying radical expressions. Pay attention to your root. So if it's a square root, how many do you need for a group? 2. And so what would be something good to break down 452? Good. 45 and 10. And then I know with 45, it's 9 and 5. And 9 can break down to 3 and 3, so I have a pair of 3s. And 10 can break down to, so I have a pair of 5s, and then we have a 2 left over. I normally always circle my pairs and box what's left over because then I remember it goes back into the square root box. How should I write out x to the 5th? Good, x squared, and x. So I have 2 different pairs of x's and 1 x left over. How would I write y squared? Just y squared, right? Or you can do y and y. And I have 1 pair of y's, nothing left over. When we write this answer, on your final, you need to pay attention to absolute values when you have a square root. Okay? So remember, when it starts as an even under an even root, but it comes out as odd, you need an absolute value bar. Okay? So what will be the number that will come out? 3 and 5, and you multiply them together, and that will make what? Good, 15. And then how many x's do I have? 2. And so that is x squared. Since it's a square, do I need an absolute value? No. Because even if it was a negative number, when you square it, it becomes a positive. Good. And then with the y's, this would just become a, is that going to need an absolute value? Good, because when it was in under the root, it was an even, and when it came out, it's an odd power. Okay, and then what is left over inside? Very good. And if you need to highlight, you can, but those are the only boxes left over, and so that's 2x inside. Any questions there? Okay. Next example. Do I need to worry about absolute values on cube roots? No. But if you have a negative number under a cube root, it comes out and just becomes a negative. Okay? Yes, Denise. Exactly. Or an even root. So it could be a 2 or a 4 or a 6, but not odds. Okay? All right. So when I have 2 roots multiplying, that means that underneath they can multiply together. So I usually write them all together. So I'm going to write this as the cubed root, and I don't normally multiply my numbers together. I'm just going to write that as 36 times 120 because I know I have to break it down again later anyways. Do you have your notes up? And then how many m's do I have? So I have 2 here and 1 here, which makes 3. And then how many n's do I have? 7. Any questions on that so far? Okay, so how many do I need for a group? 3, correct? So if I break 36 down, I have a 6 and a 6. Do we agree? Is there any way of getting a 6 from 120? Very good. And so I would break this down to 6 and 20, and so then I have a group of 6s. Now 20 I can break down further, but if I break it down further, is it going to end up giving me 3 of any of the same numbers? No. So if you recognize that, you don't need to break this down. You can just box 20 because you know it's not going to end up giving you a group. If you don't recognize it and you have a whole bunch of leftover box numbers, that's fine. We just end up multiplying them all together at the end anyways. Okay, so then we have m to the 3rd, which is 1 group. And then how will I break out n to the 7th? Good, n cubed, and an n left over. So again, just pay attention to how many you're supposed to be taking out based on your root. And so the only number I'm bringing out is a 6. And then how do I write my m's? Just m. And my n's would be what? N squared. And why is it n squared? 2 groups. And then don't forget that this is a cubed root, and then left over inside is 20n. Any questions? Okay, the next one, they are adding. Also notice it says assume all variables are positive. So do I need to worry about my absolute value marks? No. So anytime it tells you this, don't worry about absolute value. In order to add roots, what do they need to have? They have to be the same underneath. So can I add these together right now? No. So we're going to break them down separately and see if we can end up adding them together once we're done breaking them down. So what can 20 break down to be? 5 and 4. And then 4 is 2 and 2. So I have a pair of 2s, a 5 left over. How will I break down my x's? X squared and x left over. So let's go ahead and rewrite this one. One thing that I did notice on your test when we took this one is that a lot of you would forget about these numbers in front. So when I bring out this 2 and there's already a 3 out there, what do I do with the 2 and the 3? You multiply them, good. And so it's going to end up making what? 6. And then I already have an x and I bring out another group of x's, which will make, good, x squared root 5x. Okay, so now let's go to the 45. How does that break down? Nine and 5, and then 3 and 3. So I have a group of 3s with a 5 left over. How will I break down the x's? Good, x squared, and an x left over. Is there anything in front of this root to begin with? No, or a 1, which is not going to change anything. And so what's my answer going to become? 3x squared root 5x. Can I add these together now? Yeah, and so what's my final answer? Good. 9x squared root 5x. So you can only add things together if they have like roots and like x squareds, and then you just add the 6 plus the 3, but everything else in terms of variables stays the same. Okay, we're all good? Okay, next example down here, we're solving for x. We have to check for extraneous solutions. How do we check for extraneous solutions? Good, you plug it back into your, once you get your answers, you plug them in and see if it actually makes a true statement. Okay, so what do we need to do in order to solve here for x? Good, get the root by itself. So the first thing I would do is what? Okay, the first thing, first of all, this -7 right here is multiplying to the root. So I can't go 30 minus 7. So what would I do? I need to subtract 30. Oh, no. Okay, I can see how we're confused. All right, so we're going to subtract 30. We get -7 root x plus 9 equals -28. Now what? Good, divide by -7. Okay, when I do that, I get the square root of x plus 9 equals what? 4. Okay, next, what will I do? How do you get rid of the square root? Good, square both sides. So when I square here, that eliminates my square root, and I'm left with x plus 9 equals, and don't forget that you also have to square the other side, which makes it what? 16. And then the last thing, in order to get x by itself, what do I do? And so we get x equals 7. Good. Okay, so now we just have to check our answer. So we plug 7 back in. I have 30 minus 7 root 7 plus 9 equals, and I put a question mark because I'm really not sure if it equals it, equals 2. What is 7 plus 9? 16. What's the square root of 16? 4. And then 7 times 4 is 28, and is 30 minus 28 2? Yep, so it checks out. So my answer is x equals 7. Any questions? Okay. What would I do in order to get the root by itself here? Good, add 6 to both sides. We get the square root of x plus 12 equals x plus 6. What do I do next? How do I get rid of the square root? Square both sides. Now, when I do that, it eliminates the root, and I get x plus 12. But how do I deal with this x plus 6 squared? What do I do? Okay, some of you said it. Yeah, we have to distribute. We're going to write it twice and distribute. Or if you can do this in your head, that's fine too. But if we're distributing, we go x times x is x squared, x times 6 is 6x, 6 times x is 6x, and 6 times 6 is 36. So I have x plus 12 equals x squared plus 12x plus 36. What will I do now? Good. Subtract x and 12y. Good. X squared's positive, and whenever we see an x squared term, we need to... You want x squared to stay positive, and then you're going to end up doing what? Factoring, right? Okay. So, subtract x, subtract 12. Because that will make this set equal to 0. My x squared is positive. 12x minus x is what? 11x. And 36 minus 12 is 24. So this is where we go what multiplies to be 24 and what adds to be 11. Good. 8 and 3, both of them positive. So we get x plus 8 and x plus 3 equals 0. And when we set those equal to 0, what does x equal? -8, -3. But what do we have to do? Check. Okay. So if we check, let's go back to our original problem. Maybe actually I'll check over here. There's a little, so we can see it. Okay. Square root, starting with -8. -8 plus 12 minus 6 equals -8. Now, if we're trying to get our root by itself, what would I do here? Add 6 to both sides. So I have the square root of 4 equals -2. Is that going to make a true statement? No. Right? Because this will make 2 equals -2, which it does not equal that. So will -8 work? No. Okay, so now I'm going to plug in -3. We're pretty sure -3 is going to work, but you need to make sure. So square root of -3 plus 12 equals, minus 6 equals -3. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. What is 12 minus 3? So square root of 9 equals 3. Does that make a true statement? Yes. So the answer is just x equals -3. Any questions?